Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, family. How y'all doing? Welcome to the Mental House with your host, Khadijah. I really didn't want to make this video. I went back and forth with myself, debating on if I was going to even um, talk about it because it's so disgusting. And what I'm talking about is the sheriff. Is the police officer in the schoolhouse in South Carolina, I believe it is, that drugged the girl through the classroom. Now, Raven Simone, of course, injected herself in this conversation by saying why she believed the girl shouldn't have got thrown across the room or whatever she said. She should know that nobody's playing with her and she should do as she's told. It's very difficult for me to make this video because I'm not born in this era where black people just sit back and talk. This is not the era I grew up in. I'm a child of um, a great worker for black people and for civil rights and for not civil rights, for our human rights. And so it's very difficult for me to sit back and watch people try to justify um, or talk about the actions of a child, no matter how unruly, when you know good and darn well that none of this would happen in a white suburban school or white school, period. You would never see a white female being handled this way by a black officer, let alone another white officer. If a black officer even handled her that way, he would have been fired and he probably would have been brought up on charges. What hurts me even more about the video is the fact that the black teacher sat there and had nothing to say. Whether he called for backup or not, but as a man, to see that girl being manhandled and treated that way, and for him not to have an opinion, to turn his back. And oddly and sadly enough, the only person that came to this child's defense was another girl. Okay? So, as you can see, women, more than likely, we have to rely on ourselves because we have been put in a position where men are so fucking afraid to confront their masters and they leave us to fight. So we have to fight because our men folk won't do it. They've been beaten down to a point and to a place in their mind where they're just intellectually masturbating constantly. They can come on YouTube or come on all these other shows and show how intellectually testosterone driven that they are. But when it comes to going out and actually organizing as men to stop this type of shit, every man in that community should have went up to that school and had something to deal with that officer and to have him removed, and that teacher. I don't know how true it is, but I heard that the young lady who was drugged out of the classroom was really going through some grief. Her mother just passed away. No, not because she was on drugs, because she had an illness. So the girl is really in the grieving stage. She probably is a little disrespectful, a little unruly. She didn't put her phone away. I guess it bothers me so much because we're at the point now where if you don't understand that we are in some type of war, I don't know what to tell you. You can keep on watching Real Housewives of Atlanta and all these other stupid love and hip hop and all these distractions that this enemy is giving us. And you can be programmed to think that that behavior is appropriate and it's okay to follow and watch this type of shit when mayhem is going on all around you. At some point, you're going to have to make up your mind and say, this is not living. We have all the illusions of being free, but we're not. Anytime we can send our kids to school and they beat up our children, as well as half of the men are in prison, over half of the men are in prison, purposely driven. There is a fear of white people that we will annihilate them. Okay? And unless you get that through your head, you do not know, first of all, the first act in the art of war. We are at war. They are trying to exterminate us, and they are trying to wipe us off the face of the planet. And that, I actually, I would actually welcome any of you to disprove what I'm saying. From the vaccinations that you have been giving us against our will, unbeknown to us, injecting us with syphilis and all types of stuff that's using us for human guinea pigs, allowing us to go and cohabitate with anybody after you've injected us with the virulent forms of all types of diseases. You have set up a construct of poverty that the majority of blacks and Latinos people live under. And white supremacy is really the order of the day. And so if you don't understand white supremacy, you won't understand how any of this stuff works. It's far more diabolical than just being prejudiced. People can be prejudiced. You might be prejudiced against someone that's fat, or you may be prejudiced against someone who is black or white or Asian. But one thing about prejudice, a lot of times when you're thrust in a situation where you have to get to know the person, or you even have to interact with the person, your ignorance is unfolded. And most of the time it's a self-learned response that you realize that what I've been taught may not necessarily be true about fat people or black people. Okay? So when I look at the terms of ignorance, I always know that there's a possibility that these mindsets can change. But when you're dealing with a straight out system of white supremacy, it has to be burnt down. It has to be destroyed. Because there's no way in hell are you going to be able to operate and navigate through the constructs of white supremacy and think that this is a normal way of existing and that it's your imagination. You have to actually learn how to construct yourself, navigate yourself like a GPS through white supremacy. And guess what? There are no guarantees. So what I want to suggest to black people under the sound of my voice, and all brown people and people that are considerably concerned about us, you're going to have to help break down the system of white supremacy. The system that gives you the privilege, and the system that justifies the killing of my babies. There's a few things in life you got to be willing to die for. And for me, that's it. I'll talk to y'all next time. Have a wonderful day.